Today was a really just chef's kiss, perfect first practice. Not that the practice was perfect. It was a perfectly emblematic first practice. I think what happens this time of year is we all get very, very excited, as we should. It's a season of hope and a season of optimism, and that is even more true this season with this team than the other 31 franchises who are convincing themselves on varying levels of reality from Chiefs to Cardinals that they can win the Super Bowl this year, right? That's happening everywhere. That is the nature of this time of year. But here, because of the ownership change and situation, there is an added layer of hope that takes that to a next level. It feels like everything's breaking our way, if you will. And because of that, I tend to think that we put on rose, or perhaps more accurately, burgundy and gold colored glasses, and see that everything is just going to work out. Hey, well, Chase Young, like, things look good. Like, what if Chase is awesome? And that goes from a what if to a, like, Chase is going to be awesome. And then this defense is going to be top 5. And can you imagine how good they can be and how disruptive they can be and how much that can translate to winning? Sam Howell goes from he could be good to no, he's going to be good. And it creates this forward momentum of hope that is powerful, potent, intoxicating, and not accurate. And today was a great reminder of that, because Sam Howell today had his moments, had some really good throws with really good anticipation, hit Antonio Gibson up the sideline on a nice little rail route. I remarked to John Keim, hey, a rail route. Haven't seen one of those since the Gruden era. You see actually Brian Robinson on a really nice catch. So getting the ball to the running backs well in the pass game. You see a nice throw in a gotta have it situation, or it has to put the ball away from Emmanuel Forbes to Terry McLaurin, and Sam throws Terry open on a route that actually Eric Bieniemy called Terry over later and had a word about. But ultimately they get the completion. Had some good balls over the middle, was decisive. Nothing felt super clunky in terms of the rhythm. But he also had a fair amount of misses. And I think today was a very up and down day, and there were certain periods where the offense just didn't move the football. And, this is one of those situations that I hate in this job. If I'm being completely and totally honest with you, today is simultaneously one of my favorite and least favorite days of the year, because we finally, after all the speculation, have actual data. We have actual practices. We have actual information instead of speculation to operate from. But it's all we have then in a small sample size of one. Tomorrow, we will have more than double the information we have today. Today they practice for 90 minutes. Tomorrow they'll practice for 105 before going to the full 2-hour practice this weekend, and that was what it will be for most of the rest of camp. So in an hour and a half today, we can evaluate what happened, but we all have to understand we're going to go around this the virtual circle of our listener and viewership and shake hands in agreement that we're not going to make too much of it, because everything could change tomorrow. And so what today was a great reminder of that you have these exciting days where guys do stuff, and specifically at the quarterback position with a young guy with a ton of potential, that you think about what he could be. You think about the arm strength, you think about the gutsiness and the playmaking, and you think of the marriage between the RPO system he ran in college and this RPO-based system that he's going to run for Bieniemy, and you just let your imagination run wild of, Sam Howell's going to be the guy, and he's going to lead them to the playoffs, and that's just the start. He's the guy here for the next 5, 7, 10 years. They finally found him because look how talented he is. And he throws a simple ball 7 feet over someone's head, and you go, oh yeah, even if he becomes that, this is who he is right now. There's an inconsistency with his footwork, with his accuracy, with learning the offense because it's new, with all of the things that says he's 23, 24, whatever he is years old, and he has a lot of work ahead of him. That does not, and I think, again, to point out the dichotomy of of today and why today is such a unique day on the NFL calendar is I am saying that, and it sounds dire, and it sounds like you're doomed because it's like, oh, man, he's got so much work to do. But that's the same that I felt yesterday. I've been doing this long enough to know, like, yeah, now's the time to do the work. And so much work to get to a playable level, let's say, or a higher playable level is the kind of work that you do during training camp. Like, that's what this time of year is for. It's for learning. It's for experimenting. It's for pushing the limits. It's for making mistakes. It's for figuring out the little things that you can't figure out in more controlled settings. And then you take that up a notch in the quasi-controlled setting of a joint practice against Baltimore. Obviously, you have that in the uncontrolled settings of a preseason game. And then ultimately, a much, much ratcheted up and specific version as you install game plans and such into week one of the season. And I think today you saw all of that. You saw the promise, you saw the struggles, you saw the work, and you saw that all within Sam Howell's day. You saw some of it in Jacoby Brissett's day. One of Brissett's picks comes on a play where he's throwing to Marcus Kemp, and it looks like Kemp kind of flashed open, and then when he didn't get the ball immediately, relocated. Well, as he's relocating, Brissett throws the ball to where he was. Okay, it's miscommunication. There's some miscommunication a couple times in the back end, and you see guys come together real quick. Hey, no, that's this coverage. That means I have to match this. Okay, quick thumbs up, on to the next snap. You don't freak out about that on day one. The stuff that you do, I don't want to say freak out about, but the stuff that you do put a little bit more emphasis on is the operation, the tempo. And Eric Bieniemy did have to get on them a little bit early in practice about that. And there were some times later in practice where guys are kind of walking, slow jogging off the field, and he's ready to get the next group going. He's yelling, just get off the field. And I was talking to Logan after practice, and luckily for you, this is a conversation we had into microphones. It's called Take Command, and it is out very soon this afternoon. By the time our show is over, you can keep listening to us talk football. Just got to go to your favorite podcast app, or if you're listening on the Odyssey app, we'll be available right inside it. Search Take Command, and you'll have Logan and I's takeaways from the day. But he was amazed that in this 90-minute practice, they got off as many plays as they did. The tempo of everything is so much faster now, and they do so much more with the way Bieniemy's got it structured than what they did in the past, what they did in the past with Scott Turner. I think one of the things that's going to be interesting over the next couple of days is to see if they up the number of plays dramatically, or do they add more individual periods and more special teams periods to kind of beef out the hour 45 tomorrow, an hour and a half, in 2 hours on Friday or Saturday, whenever their third practice is, where today it's just an hour and a half. But these are the kinds of questions that are not critically important. They're interesting, but there's no necessarily wrong answer, and it's things that we'll watch as time goes on. Of course, the big story in the press afterwards, press conferences, questions or lines of questioning was about the ownership change, and we will hear more from the players and why I actually don't think they fully understand the magnitude of this coming up at 4:30. But Ron Rivera also spoke about practice itself. You'll hear from him next on The Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and always live on the free Odyssey app.
This is The Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and the Odyssey app.